Welcome to this Cambridge Marketing College webinar. This is Introduction to Sales for Marketers. Now, this is a topic that is potentially quite contentious in some organizations because the two disciplines of sales and of marketing don't necessarily see eye to eye in every situation. They don't necessarily work to a common cause. They don't necessarily understand what each other does. So that's the purpose of this webinar, is to bridge the gap between sales and marketing by understanding the sales process, the tools that salespeople use, and establish some collaboration strategies so that we can get a much closer relationship. So we're going to look at a clear understanding, I hope, of some of the modern sales processes, key selling techniques, and how to build more effective aligned campaigns within marketing so that marketing supports sales and sales supports marketing. So this session is designed for marketers who want to become more commercially aware and explains how salespeople operate and how marketers can become almost indispensable in helping them succeed. So why has this been an issue? Why did I say that it's not really something that's necessarily perfectly aligned in a lot of cases? Well, in a positive sense, sales and marketing are two distinct parts of the same commercial system. When they are aligned to a common cause, talking a common language, sort of working with common objectives and key performance indicators, they can increase revenue by up to 34%, according to the research. And yet, many marketers have never been on a sales discovery call. They've possibly never reviewed a proposal that a salesperson has put forward, or even, in many cases, actually worked with a customer relationship management system. And likewise, salespeople often think of marketing as being top of the funnel. So just doing promotions, overt noise making in the marketplace, and often, and probably is the case, not really supporting their endeavors as they go off targeting particular accounts or prospects. So there is work to be done here, and that is what we're going to try and uncover here in this introduction to sales for marketers. So what we're going to do here is to really explore ways that marketers can become more commercially aware. Now, I'm not saying marketers aren't commercially aware, but in some cases, they're not viewing things from a sales or growth or business development perspective. They're doing what marketers do, but they're not necessarily thinking more broadly. So this is a time to step up. So what we're going to do, hopefully, by aligning ourselves with sales, is to set smarter objectives, design campaigns that align to buying stages, build credibility with commercial stakeholders. So if we were out with a customer and talking to our sales colleagues in that regard, we would understand the what, the where, and the why of the sales activities. And so what we're going to be able to do then is, by understanding the sales process, this is going to enable better account-based marketing, better lead nurturing, and certainly better return on investment reporting of the value that marketing is bringing to the business. So there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to take this stuff seriously. Okay, so when we say sales, what do we actually mean? Well, in many ways, there is a seven-stage sales process. There are many, many different theories and models that you can work from, but this is one of my favorites. And it is a seven-step process from prospecting to post-sale follow-up. So when we say prospecting, this is identifying qualified potential buyers for your product or service. Step two is qualification, assessing their fit and readiness to buy. That one's key in the customer journey. The third point and the third stage is discovery, exploring needs and building rapport. So getting deep into the relationship with them. Step four, stage four, is the proposal, presenting potential solutions to tailor the offer to buyer pain points. So actually really aligning what you do as an organization with the things and the challenges that your potential buyer is feeling and facing. Step five is negotiation. This is the stage that resolves objections and reaches agreement on how to proceed. Step six is the close, the finalizing of the deal, the signing of the contract, the transaction that then happens. And of course, stage seven is post sale, the follow up, the upsell, referral generation, advocacy. And again, all of those things that marketing could and should be effectively supporting. Now, there are many different kind of techniques and sales methodologies that go on within each of those seven sections. But having identified those seven sections, we can see very quickly that they are like a layer over the customer journey that often as marketers we are focused on. So we actually are doing and supporting and talking the same thing as our sales colleagues, but we might not realize that we're actually doing it, and nor may they. So there's lots of different ways then that you can actually start to build the relationship, support the relationship as a salesperson. And of course, if marketing is there, providing support and guidance, market understanding, for example, trends, key kind of movements that maybe other parts of the business are seeing in the development of customer relationships, and feeding that information into sales so that sales can work their magic. They can build the relationship off this tangible, solid evidence that marketing is providing. It may well be that they become a little bit unstuck at certain points in those negotiations or that relationship building. So, marketing can kind of come in, step in here, and provide added value, little nuances, maybe additional products and services that could be required to provide those tailored solutions that the salesperson and their customers looking for. So, many ways of kind of supporting, if you like. So let's look at some of these stages in a little bit more detail. So the prospecting stage, stage one in our journey here. Well, this is the search for qualified leads. So often a salesperson is going to use things like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or maybe some kind of search facility on a number of different apps and platforms that might be available. So the relevance for marketers is that you can start to support with targeted outreach, which works when you're focused on clear personas and the value propositions that you can offer to those personas. Now, of course, if the salesperson is literally working on selling product, trying to shift boxes, as often we kind of perceive salespeople to do, then we can actually support them and actually focus in on the value propositions, the kind of higher, more strategic reasons why a customer would want to get into a relationship with us, and serve those things as assets, as really useful kind of materials and evidence for the salesperson to use in the relationship. This is the art of prospecting from a marketing and sales perspective. So marketers can support the salesperson with a lead magnet strategy. They can provide, campaigns that will identify particular customer groupings or personas or target audiences, maybe even new markets. Warm those markets up so that when the prospecting call goes in from the salesperson, that market or that particular target customer already knows a little about the brand or the company that's approaching them. Marketing can also provide conversion optimized landing pages. So, almost a dedicated place where, if that particular prospect wants to find out a little bit more before the sales visit, then they can. They can land on something that could be even hyper personalized for them. And of course, things like retargeting campaigns keeps this prospecting flow, if you like, this kind of very top of the funnel awareness generation. It keeps it flowing, ready in the moment when the prospect says, okay, salesperson, I'm willing to have a conversation. I'm willing to meet you. So this is very much an ongoing process that we can work closely with sales within. The second stage, the discovery stage that I mentioned before, this is about learning before selling. So the purpose of this stage is to understand the customer's pain, their budget, their decision-making process, who else might be involved in that decision-making process, and get really into the detail, if you like, of understanding their challenges and pain points. This is really key. There is no way that you can sell or market to somebody if you're not listening to their issues, their challenges, the opportunities that they might be facing to engage with you. So looking at it very much from their perspective. Top quality salespeople do this naturally. It's an intuitive thing that we do if you're very strong in business development. But for a lot of marketers, this is a little bit beyond the day to day because they get caught up in doing marketing stuff. But this is really important to build those deep relationships that we're talking about. So sales teams build trust and capture insights, and marketers can benefit by using the discovery call feedback to improve, obviously, things like campaign messaging, to improve or create objection handling content to support the salesperson. And of course, to refine the targeting criteria, it might be from listening into these discovery calls, capturing the conversations that the salespeople are having. It might be that you identify as marketing that, well, actually, this isn't really an appropriate target audience for our product and service. We're not seeing a direct alignment. And maybe that's one of the reasons why the particular product or service isn't resonating, isn't landing, isn't selling. It might not be that your marketing and sales is not good enough. It could just be there's not an alignment. So the discovery phase is absolutely key, learning and actively listening before trying to sell. Of course, marketing and sales are kind of starting to align themselves here with this kind of almost shared appetite for information so that we can fine tune both the marketing offer, but also the sales interaction. And it's never been more true than at the next stage, which is the proposal and negotiation. And this is where value over price comes into play. Now, most of us know that people don't really buy on price. They're buying off the relationship. They're buying off the perceived value of being in a relationship with you, being aligned with your brand, understanding the offer and the solution that you're bringing to them. So salespeople structure proposals often, and in most cases, particularly the successful ones, to demonstrate return on investment and to de-risk the decision. So it isn't about actually making a purchase. It's about reducing risk of getting things wrong. This is about actually looking good to my peers if I'm buying your product or service as a buyer. So that's what the salesperson hooks into. And so in marketing, that's how we can hook into value over price as well. So when we think about dropping price in a campaign, think about actually, are we just giving money away here? Could we be smarter with what we do in our marketing? Discount, special offers, dropping the price is often the very last resort in an effective marketing and sales push. Often, increasing the value is the way to do it. So, marketers can support sales by creating tailored case studies, supplying statistics and social proof, producing presentation decks and visual materials that really hone in on value over price. Because as we say, and as we know, and most salespeople, good salespeople will tell you that actually their customers aren't really buying on the price. They'll always say, oh, can you give me a better price? Because yes, they want to haggle and do a bit of a deal, but the deal is already done when they understand the value that you're bringing. And of course, that helps with the next stage, the close. The closing is when sales needs precision and timing and a really well-aligned marketing focus. So timely content and personalized follow-ups can make a significant decision in this closing stage or the conversion stage, if you want to call it in marketing terms. So marketing can support with a final push that nurtures the flow of information, case studies, testimonials, that kind of really relevant confidence building, trust building information that a customer needs to be able to take themselves over the line. Executive focused content can often really work here, and quick reference product materials can be just really good to just kind of tick off those final little check boxes that a customer might be looking just to take that confidence level over the point of actually, do I have any doubt? Am I kind of questioning my decision? It's just those little things that marketing can support to help the salesperson close the deal and get that contract signed, to get the cash in the bank so that you've then got an ROI as a salesperson. So that's really where we're helping them to really align with the practicality of this deal flow. The next stage really is marketing and sales funnel alignment. So what we're looking to do here is we start to build a plan to help our salespeople to increase the business and to grow in the way that we're talking here. What we're looking to do here is to align both marketing in terms of the customer journey, but also sales in terms of their sales pipeline or funnel. So you hear these terms used interchangeably, and this is where they align. So at top of funnel, really what we're looking here is to create brand awareness and to generate leads. That's what we're really here to do in terms of supporting sales. In the middle of funnel, the conversion stage, it's about lead nurturing and engagement. So what can you do at that stage to help your salesperson build the confidence in the customer's eyes that this is going to be a great deal, that their money is going to be well spent with us? And the bottom of funnel, the conversion focused content and beyond, where we start to build advocacy, loyalty in the customer journey. What kinds of things can you do, particularly in the post sale follow up, to enable your salesperson, your sales colleagues to really build and nurture the relationship into the future? And often misalignment occurs when marketing focuses only on the top of funnel. When salespeople consider marketing as being, oh, well, they're the guys who just create brand awareness, they generate leads, they do campaigns, they make a lot of noise, they just do social media. That's when we're missing a trick in marketing, because we have a strategic part to play to support the sales process. And if there's an opportunity here for you, this is where you could see some great gains and great ways of actually building that relationship with sales. And the quickest, easiest, most effective way of doing it is to use shared metrics, to unify objectives, talk in the same language by agreeing sales and marketing goals that are pushing in a single focused direction is the very best way. If you have marketing KPIs, key performance indicators, that don't reflect sales targets, you're going to be pushing water uphill here. And the same for sales. If they don't see marketing being aligned with their goals and their objectives, they're not going to be coming to you for support. They're not going to be building a relationship with you because they don't see you as a close ally. So working to the same agenda, using the same language, agreeing the terms and conditions by which marketing and sales work together to meet a common goal. That is the way to do this. It is literally as simple as that. And I can say from experience over many, many years of failing in this area and being totally misaligned with sales colleagues and sales really not getting me and the work that I do, I know now, looking back, that this was the way to do it. So shared metrics, shared objectives is the way forward. And it becomes particularly active and particularly relevant when you look at the business to business sell, particularly through something like account-based marketing. And this is basically where we use the concept of ABM to closely align sales priorities as they focus on all the different kind of members, if you like, of a particular client or customer. So as they focus on talking to the finance director, the buyer, the user, the ops director, maybe even the sales director in their target accounts, we as marketing can support that salesperson by providing targeted account-based marketing to each of those disciplines in a target account. And it will involve personalized content. It is going to involve cross-functional collaboration. It is going to need long-term engagement. But there are tools available for you, many tools available that you can search out, and you can find ABM tools that will enable you to align marketing and sales to approach specific targets within your salesperson's target list, so that you can support them with high value and really precise, laser focused marketing that helps them to uncover the opportunities that they are seeing. As an example, you might find that there could be a tech company, a SaaS brand, for example, that runs LinkedIn ads and sends direct mail to key decision makers at 20 priority accounts. The sales team might, for example, follow up with tailored outreach in each of those accounts, and then marketing tracks the engagement and adapts the message based on sales feedback, so that you can continuously improve at every step in the process, literally step by step. So this is true collaboration, marketing listening to sales, sales feeding back their impacts that they're having actually out in the field, and marketing adjusting their activity accordingly. This is growth and business development in harmony. So rather than marketing just going off doing stuff, rather than sales just firefighting, approaches that they're getting from inbound calls that they're having to serve, this is actually targeted growth and business development. And you often see this working most effectively when you have a common central system of reporting. CRM, customer relationship management system, either top of funnel with new prospects coming into your CRM system, or through funnel later, where you're actually seeing existing customers being served through targeted, ongoing lead generation and post sale support in your CRM. A CRM is a single source of truth for your customer. It shows the lead status, it shows the activity history, it shows the deal stage, it shows who's involved, how they've been contacted, when they were last contacted, what they're interested in, what they're not interested in, etc., etc. It allows marketing to provide support to that customer or that contact. It allows sales to see what this customer has seen from marketing and then feed back in the responses that they find in their conversation so that marketing can adjust appropriately. There are many, many popular CRMs, Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, many, many others too. And marketers can be using CRM data to track campaign ROI, to see what content supports conversion, to segment audiences more accurately, and many more things as well. Now, the lovely thing about a CRM from both the sales and the marketer's perspective is transparency. We can see what sales are up to, not because we're monitoring them, but because we are curious and we need to know. And sales can see what marketing's up to, not because they're monitoring us, but because they're interested and they also need to know. So a transparent CRM where both parties, sales and marketing, are inputting and collaborating and continuously improving, obviously will result in a better customer experience, which in turn results in more value to the customer, which in turn results in more sales. So we're seeing really, a measurement right the way through the pipeline of metrics that really matter. If you've got a pipeline like the stages that we're talking about, if marketing is supporting that pipeline and sales are feeding back responses that they see at every single stage, you're starting to align. So metrics that are related to sales that you really need to know about is things like pipeline value, lead to opportunity conversion rate, average deal size, the win rate, sales cycle length. And aligning marketing KPIs to these metrics supports sales and business development and broader commercial revenue goals. So if you're just in your pot of metrics and KPIs focused on marketing stuff, then you're missing a trick. Put into your marketing mix and your metrics and your dashboard stuff that relates to sales, and suddenly you elevate yourself into the top tier of reporting within the organization. So, what makes a lead sales ready? Well, a salesperson is going to tell you that actually, when we're focusing in on this, when we're prioritizing the stuff that we're doing, actually, they've got to have a fit. So, a particular lead that we're targeting here, the one that's going to actually give us best return, the one that's actually going to respond to the marketing activity, is where the persona, the sector, and the size actually fit with what we're offering. They need to be able to be defined by engagement. We don't want to be seeing a particular marketing campaign sort of not engaging, because that in itself gives the salesperson less confidence that it's worth going after that particular organization. So the downloads, pages viewed is a surefire sign for the salesperson, again in the CRM, that this particular contact could well be up for a conversation. The timing as well, the behavior triggers. How long does it take for somebody who has been targeted to actually engage? And what kind of content and information are they engaging with? So if you can show from a marketing perspective this kind of information to your sales team, they will spot the opportunities to follow up. So this is a win-win. This transparency that I'm talking about gives an open opportunity for both sides, marketing and sales, to continuously learn, continuously watch what the customer is doing, and then take their own activities to respond accordingly. But there is obviously going to be a marketing and sales handover, and the successful handover, and it probably switches throughout the journey or the pipeline. It could be that marketing provides a hook or a lead into sales. Sales follows that up, hands it back to marketing to serve and support whilst they are going on and serving other customers, and then marketing hands it back to the salesperson to get the conversion stage, and then after the conversion stage, sales hands that back to marketing for post sale follow up in terms of maybe newsletters or maybe getting them into a community or loyalty program. And occasionally, then obviously, the marketer then hands it back to sales for the follow up call. Maybe a month after the sale, you get a courtesy call from your salesperson. So, this switching and handing over can happen at any stage in the process. And successful handover includes CRM notes, the last interaction source, constantly monitoring further key pain points and interests, and using sales enablement platforms like Seismic or HighSpot to support the process. So embedding in there this kind of nuanced customer by customer, hyper personalized approach to your sales and marketing interaction. This is where it gets really, really interesting because it enables you then to plan campaigns that serve the pipeline, working backwards from revenue goals, identifying which segments need targeting, what buying stage they're in, what objections are common, and then building content to support specific sales goals that serve the pipeline. So using your CRM to inform your priorities as a marketer, not just thinking, hey, we've got this brand new social media channel, we can just start to plug content in there and we will be solving the world's problems. No, this is reverse engineering from the commercial reality that is out there in the markets that you serve. So this is where you can really start to improve and increase the collaboration as well as the outputs that you do. So maybe using buyer journey mapping collaboratively with sales could be a good thing. It could include sales feedback in the development of personas and buyer journey maps. There are many, many tools that you can use to create shared versions of this, like Miro, Lucidchart, or Figma. And marketing and sales teams jointly identifying content gaps and handover points, constantly talking and collaborating through the customer journey and the sales pipeline draws those two previously separate activities and separate maps, it draws them together. This is true sales enabled content and marketing. Because what you'll be doing is you will be creating stuff then that supports the reality of the customer experience. Because if you leave sales to just go off and do their own thing, they won't be benefiting from what you can deliver to them. And likewise, you will not be getting the best output. You won't understand what the customer feedback has been. Maybe the salesperson has actually caught some little nuances that can help you enable from a sales perspective, the content tuning, the fine tuning, and maybe even the channel choices that you make. And then you can create assets and materials that save time and reduce friction for sales. This continuous improvement comes through this activity. And what you'll collectively be doing with sales here is reflecting the true voice of the customer back into the organization. I mean, sales teams themselves, really, for you as a marketer, are a live feedback loop from your target market. Using call recordings, CRM notes that we keep talking about here, and post call summaries to surface insights, which you can then feed the learnings from those and the assessment of those into your product messaging, your campaign testing, and your refinement of the personas that you're targeting with your marketing. So when we talk in marketing about being the voice of the customer reflected back into the organization, this is the true voice of the customer because sales are out there talking to them. So yes, we will see some engagement through our campaigns, our comms, and our social media. But actually, those face-to-face interactions that sales has puts a whole different meaning to the sale and the voice of the customer being fed into our marketing. So it's really, really important. And we have to show willing. We have to show that we're up for this. As marketing, sales will get the benefit. They will see the benefit if we become more collaborative and more transparent and we work to common goals. But working better on a practical day-to-day basis requires us to shadow their calls, attend pipeline review meetings, ask for honest feedback on content, maybe build shared dashboards. Maybe then the trust will grow when we develop and demonstrate the value that we're providing in helping the salesperson to close those deals. Going it alone as a salesperson is a lonely, hard road to follow. Unless you're absolutely stoic, unless you're absolutely driven and maybe very, very experienced, these journeys for salespeople are very hard to do. Conversion, sales pipeline, constant pressure to meet your targets, to create that revenue flow, to consistently bring in new business is a hard, hard lifestyle. But working consistently and collaboratively with sales and breaking down the silos, so regular shared planning sessions, joint retrospectives, kind of really, really catching up and saying, how's it going for you? And actually then quarterly account-based marketing strategy reviews. Let's look deep into the numbers and see where we've got some wins collectively. Maybe we've got some shared Slack or Teams channels where we can actually reflect and celebrate on the wins of this collaborative working. A culture shift begins when the goals are aligned and we find that through this co-working, through this kind of really, really detailed support, mutual respect will be generated. So a lot of this really isn't rocket science, but so few people do this. But marketers will gain if you are willing to go the hard yards and actually make an effort to engage in this way. We will gain from understanding sales. We'll improve our campaign impact. We'll build stronger internal relationships. We will see a greater strategic influence across the organization. And we'll definitely have increased confidence with commercial language and the metrics that we're using now in our day-to-day interactions. So where can you start? If you want to do this stuff, if you want to align marketing more closely with sales, it starts with you. It really does, with you as an individual in marketing. No matter what role or level of seniority, if you're willing to join a sales team's call this week, if you're willing to audit the current handover process, if you're willing to interview a sales rep to learn what content would help, if you're willing to really listen, and if you review CRM reports to understand the best quality lead patterns that you can find, and truly actively listen to what you hear in terms of how marketing is performing from a sales and customer perspective, then you have started on your journey for supporting sales in the right kind of way. Sometimes we have to give before we get, and this is one of those moments. And so, a final reflection here is that sales success is a shared responsibility between sales and marketing. And the more marketers understand the sales journey, the more impactful and commercially valuable their work becomes. It is not rocket science. And if we're willing to do a few hard yards, the benefits will come back to us and to our sales colleagues in heaps and bounds very, very soon. So I hope you found this introduction to Sales for Marketers useful. Hopefully it's given you a little bit of motivation to go out and talk to some of your business development colleagues and see what you can do, see what you can achieve together. Remember, transparency, collaboration, and working together to some common goals are the surefire way for commercial success in the future.